Welcome to Dolby Creator Talks. This is a show about how artists use technology to tell their stories, and I'm your host, Glenn Kaiser. Today we're talking about the music of Frankenstein, directed by Guillermo del Toro. Joining us is two-time Academy Award-winning composer Alexandre Desplat in conversation with guest host Jon Burlingame. I'll let Jon take over the introductions from here.
Our guest today has earned 2 Academy Awards for The Shape of Water and The Grand Budapest Hotel, and 9 other nominations for films including The King's Speech and The Imitation Game. He's also earned Grammys, Golden Globes, BAFTAs, and Césars over his long career in films. He's with us today to talk about his 3rd film for Guillermo del Toro, Frankenstein, which is now airing on Netflix. Welcome, Alexandre Desplat.
Hello, Jon. Lovely to be speaking with you.
So this is your 3rd film for Guillermo after Shape of Water and Pinocchio. What's your relationship like?
Very good. Very good. I think we built some kind of trust, that I can dedicate myself to his creativity and bring ideas and share them with him, and he's open to any suggestions. He's a very open-minded director, artist, and with all his crew, with everyone, with his costume designer, production designer, his cinematographer, everybody around is sharing with him, and he's happy to share, to fulfill the great show that he's putting together, with the ideas of he respects the people he works with, so he's happy for them to bring ideas and to bring colors and to bring their knowledge of their own department.
How long ago did he talk about Frankenstein with you?
I think it's long ago. I think since we started knowing each other, which goes back to a DreamWorks movie, Rise of the Guardians. He always said he had a passion for Frankenstein, and that it could be a film he would do one day. So it's quite a while ago, and the great thing is that he prepared his weapons before attacking the creature, the big creature that he worships so much since he was a young adolescent or a young child, actually. Even a child, because I think he was 8 or 10 when he first saw Frankenstein. And this one, it is the summit of this triptych. We have The Shape of Water, Pinocchio, and Frankenstein. It's all about the creature and the love being loved. Who's the monster? Who's not the monster? So yeah, that's the path of our construction of that character.
Guillermo's Frankenstein is unlike any other Frankenstein movie we've ever seen. In fact, it's not a horror movie at all. This feels more like a tragedy with, a touch of science fiction in it. I wonder if you can talk about what your thoughts were when he told you, we're ready to go, we're going to do Frankenstein. Did you have some ideas about how to handle it musically?
No, I didn't know, because I read the script, but of course I read Mary Shelley long ago when I was a teenager. I never saw any Frankenstein movies, funnily enough. So by the time he asked me to score Frankenstein, it was too late for me to go back and watch Frankenstein's movie, because I thought it might influence me. Or I knew the score of Bride of Frankenstein, of course, by Waxman, because I'm a Waxman fan. But aside from that, I didn't know the movies. So I knew that it would be, knowing his passion for this character and his sensitivity, I knew it would be, and his craft, I knew it would be epic, romantic, lyrical, emotional, and that it would be elegant, beautiful visually. When I think about this movie and when I first saw the images, I felt like I had met like if you had made a creature from Visconti and David Lean, the elegance of Visconti, beauty of the way he reproduced period movies, period. The 19th century or the early 20th century, and the way there's this epic, fearless, operatic way of telling a story that Guillermo can handle so well, because his talent as a director is so strong, his craft is so great, and his knowledge about art is so wide that I knew that it would be beautiful and strong.
Well, did he have any ideas about what he was looking for musically?
Well, because the movie takes place in the early 19th century, he had this idea that maybe we should refer to the end of the 18th century, the end of Baroque music, but I felt it was too classical, too classical and too far from who I am. And I felt also that it could bring the film to a kind of Barry Lyndon-esque direction, which was not what was on screen. Of course, there was the beauty as in Lozzi's movie, but the journey of a man, but it's not the same journey. There's not this supernatural element that you mentioned, the kind of fantasy tale that is around, and the Baroque seemed a bit limited, a bit too small for so many emotions to deal with. So I just said no. I think it's not a good idea. We should try and find something else. So I just explored the dig, to try and suggest ideas and bring a new voice to the film.
It's absolutely right, I think, for this kind of epic film, because it is an orchestra. It seems like it's mostly strings, piano, harp, but especially solo violin plays a big role. Can you talk a little bit about why that choice seemed appropriate and who your violinist was?
The violinist is a fabulous young Norwegian player. She has a technique and a musicality which was for me unknown, since I had Solveig, my partner, as a concertmaster, and since she doesn't play anymore, I'd never found somebody who had that beautiful sound, this beautiful French bow, this intonation, this sensitivity. So Ed Bjørkheim I had to find this pure sound, not a romantic sound. A violinist that could play with a restrained vibrato and a lot of delicateness. The challenge was to find the sound of the creature. What does this huge thing sound like? And of course, you're tempted to do it with big instruments and make it bigger than what you see on screen. But because I worked for so many years and still do work in theater, I attach myself to the characters and to their own emotions and how they convey these emotions to the audience. And I thought that what was important was not the aspect, the exterior aspect of this creature, but what was driving his emotions. And he comes to life like a child, an innocent child, would react to things, discovering, everything is new to this creature. And he's seeking for love and to be loved, to be taught like a child would be, And I thought that the violin, which is the purest, the smallest, the lightest, the most sophisticated, the most fragile instrument physically, when you hold a violin in your hand, it's like holding a feather. It's so light. It weighs nothing. And I thought it had being that light, it still had the power to be a striking voice for the creature and to convey his sensitivity.
And Victor Frankenstein is equally interesting as a character. You know, he's not just a bad guy. He's a complex human being, I think, because sometimes he's sincere, sometimes he's out of control, sometimes he's angry. Finally, he's sorry for what he's done. I wonder if you can talk about how Victor needed to be handled musically.
Victor had a tough childhood with a tough father, and a mother who died early on when he was a child. So he has these wounds that are not cured yet, healed. And I didn't want to. Again, I wanted us to feel his gentleness. That unfortunately his education kind of broke or hurt. And as we go into the film, we understand that he wants to become, and he's dressed like that. He's dressed like an artist, you know, like a romantic artist with these incredible jackets and his red gloves and that he wants to perform his craft better than anyone before him, and for sure better than his father did, which is, I would say, what I think every artist wants to do, because we all come from a chain of artists, and we all want to, at some point, once we've ended the respectful bowing to our older generations, we want to surpass them. We try.
Yeah.
We don't succeed all the time, but we try.
Yeah.
We try, and we dream that we can do it. And he gets into that dream, this excitement of becoming a miraculous Mandarin.
And one of the interesting characters that Guillermo has adapted from Mary Shelley is Elizabeth, who in this film is the fiancée of Victor's brother, whom Victor becomes enamored of. But Elizabeth has this connection with the creature. So how did you deal with Elizabeth? What did she need musically?
Well, Elizabeth has there's a great trick that nobody really realizes, that it's the same actress who plays Victor's mother, Mia Goth, and who also plays Elizabeth, the love interest. So it really opens a deep Oedipus question about Victor, you know, and which allows me to connect the theme of the mother, of the motif of the mother, to Elizabeth. But then when Elizabeth meets the creature, it's a new thematic idea that comes in. You know, when she's in this basement, when he's attached, he's prisoner, and he's been beaten like Victor's father used to do with Victor. There's this pure, innocent connection between the two. It's not even a physical attraction. It's just a philosophical, you know, metaphysical connection between the two, which is extremely beautiful because it's very pure and very gentle, and it's just her benevolence. She's the first person to be benevolent with the creature. Later will come the blind man, but so there's this scene with a little leaf that's going in the little stream in that basement, and the music plays a very tender moment when she comes closer to him. And when she puts her hand on him, the music stops. So we can appreciate that moment of recognition to the two creature her and him, who want to connect.
So I have to ask you about the storm sequence, which is one of the high points of the movie, and brilliantly realized visually, I think, by Guillermo. What did that need you to do? And as part of that answer, talk a little bit, if you would, about the fact that you have an organ there.
We've tried really hard because it was almost subconscious that we wouldn't write any gothic kind of music, not use the theremin or the Onde Martenot or this kind of thing to make it spooky and the Bride of Frankenstein kind of sound. But this moment and the set design here is so extravagant and crazy, like the house of Dr. Cagliari, or the house of a mad creator.
Yeah.
That's and at the top of a tower with this huge electric power captors, and I just thought that having a swirling, twirling sound of organ doing arpeggios, matching to the background of the storm could be a good start to build something.
Another sequence that I wanted to ask you about is there's a moment where Victor is trying to piece together all of these bodies into something that will be a single human being. And I was struck by the fact that what I thought I was hearing was kind of a grand waltz. And I wonder if you can talk about why that choice seemed the right way to go.
It's a moment where he goes. There are wars at the time where the movie is taking place, and he goes on battlefields and chooses the corpses that he wants to deal with, which means to deconstruct, to reconstruct a new body. So he has all these horrific pieces of bodies that he's going to start and chop and put together to create his masterpiece.
Yeah.
So of course the first instinct is to emphasize this horrific moment, but it would have been unbearable. You wouldn't been able to watch it because it's so disgusting. But actually, if you go to his point of view, which is again that of an artist who's creating his masterpiece, the excitement, the trance in which he's getting into, suddenly you share his passionate action, and you don't really look at the corpses in the same way. And there's even a sense of dark humor to it. And I play with that, of course, with the score, making pauses and starting again, and so. I think it was important again because doing counterpoint to what you see on screen for this film was very important, that we don't like we did with the violin and the creature, not by being on the nose. It's the same here, having to kind of take a vantage point and go into Victor's psychology.
One of the most memorable sequences in the film, I'm sure everyone will agree, is the one where the creature befriends the blind old man. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about, and it's at that moment that the creature first experiences a genuine feeling of kindness and peace, I think. How did you handle that?
When I stopped using the full orchestra, as I said, it's a movie where the score goes from, like an opera, it goes from the very simple, gentle recitativo with one instrument or very few instruments to the huge full orchestra blasting out. And here I had to change the mood completely, make it very transparent, calm, and leave space for these characters to, because they're quite silent in that scene. Leave space for them to move, like if I didn't want to interfere with their inner sound of that barn or that place where they're staying, and that every move, every word would be even stronger if the music was quiet. There's a harp, there's some violin again. And he creates a very soft, cotton-like environment. Like, as you said, suddenly benevolence appears, kindness appears for this creature. And he was seeking for that. And after being mistreated beaten by Victor.
Yeah.
Since it's a very beautiful relationship, David Bradley's character. David Bradley is such a wonderful actor with a great warm voice, which helps a lot because 2 words by David Bradley already changed the mood of the whole scene,
I understand you recorded at Abbey Road, and Can you tell me how big your orchestra was at its height?
I think it must have been in the 90s at the most, but not not all the time. I kept it, as I said, at very few moments where it gets big.
Yeah,
and almost never loud. Most of the time, we're trying to keep the weight of the large orchestra, but without being too loud. Lots of strings, of course.
Except when Victor's castle blows up, and the creature is nearly killed. That's another great expansive moment for you.
On which we added a large choir that we recorded at Air Studios, 60-piece choir, and so it gives suddenly a huge width to the sound of the score. There's so much going on, the sound of the storm, of the thunder. It needed to be, and it's a big moment. He's creating this bloody creature finally, so it had to be really, really, really magical and big.
I guessed that there's probably almost 2 hours of music in this film, and I wonder how long you had to actually write and record it all.
Yeah, there's a bit under two hours of music, including the source music, which I wrote before the shooting, and which became also a starting point for me to write the score, because some of these source music become score at time. Yeah, so it started. I think I must have taken 2 months to write it, maybe, and record it, and the recording must have been a week or something altogether between the orchestra and the choir.
What's the process like when you're actually writing? Are you sending themes or musical ideas to Guillermo and getting his feedback?
Well, the good thing is that we were mostly in the same room here in Los Angeles or in Paris. And I would play him demos. I create extremely precise demos where everything is orchestrated there. Some themes I play on the piano. So it's easy for him to react and to give notes. I can easily, quickly modify things. And so when we get to the studio, everything is already known by Guillermo. He knows, he's heard everything and to picture. So it's a very smooth process. It just sounds better. And we can still adjust things, if we think it can be played with more Mexican energy and less French energy. We do that.
Did Guillermo attend the recording sessions? I mean, was he right there during the recording?
Yes. Since I think before Shape of Water, he didn't go to the sessions. And I really pushed him to come since Shape of Water to every session, because I think it's a crucial moment. I mean, in his films, music is important. It's a huge part of the emotion and of the storytelling. It's not just a wallpaper in the background. There's so much to deal with. And I can be wrong going too far or not far enough. Coming back to my French restraint kind of temperament. So by having him there, I know. Actually, just by looking at him, I know if I'm at the right place, at the right level, at the right energy and sensitivity. If the cello takes a solo, which there are many also played by Tim Gill, wonderful cellist in London. If I see that Guillermo is touched, is moved, I know we're at the right spot.
By the same token, I'm wondering, did you visit the set at all? Were you ever around while they were shooting?
I wish, but I did not.
Okay. Yeah.
I wish. No, I could not do that. Some of it was in Toronto, some of it was in Scotland, and for some reason I couldn't make it.
So your inspiration largely comes from the imagery.
Oh yeah, always. It's the imagery and the characters, the actors. I love the actors. I love watching them. I love being with them. I live with them. When I go to the premiere and meet an actor for the first time of my life I've never met before, I feel like I know him. I'm a friend of his because I spent hours and hours listening to his voice, watching his movements, how his eyebrows move, his forehead, up or down, his chin, and how he moves. So I feel like I know the actors, and I even though I didn't go on set, I live with them in my studio on the image. Yeah.
What would you say was the most challenging part of this assignment?
To avoid all these traps, of the gothic, over romantic, and keep it always to the core, to the heart. Make it always poignant, always heartbreaking, and sometimes fun, like the waltz, this waltz where you put the body parts together. And never try to always avoid going into the genre, the scary monster movie. Especially that at the end we know that the monster is not the creature, but is the creator of the creature. So that I think that was the challenge. And the scenes, it's always how to begin, how to end, how to develop the theme. And this movie is complex because there's two point of views, there's two flashbacks. So how do you deal with that? Do you repeat the theme? Oh no, it's too much. You have to figure out how you can, it's a complex Rubik's Cube, and you have to make sure that it's not always on the blue or always on the orange. You have to change colors. Otherwise, no, it's true. Otherwise, if the sound is always the same instrumentation, same motifs, it's tiring for the ear. So you have to be dealing with that too. The challenge is that it's a huge movie with a lot of music, and you have to find an architecture that makes sense and that doesn't hurt the film and still brings another dimension to the film.
Well, it's a magnificent accomplishment. It's one of the great epics of the year.
Thank you, Jon.
And
Thank you.
It's just a marvelous score, and I'm so thrilled that you could share some thoughts about it with us today. Thank you, Alexandre.
Thank you. Thank you, Jon. Thank you, Professor Burlingame.
Many thanks to Alexandre Desplat for joining us on the show today, and thanks to Jon Burlingame for another fantastic interview. And an extra special thanks to our friends at Netflix for helping us put this conversation together. Be sure to check out Frankenstein, now streaming on Netflix, where you can hear its incredible score in Dolby Atmos. And even better, if you can still catch it on the big screen, I highly recommend you do so. It looks and sounds just incredible in the theater. We'll have links, as always, in our show notes. And let us know what you think. Frankenstein is such an iconic story that there's been so many film adaptations through the years. So which one's your favorite? Leave us a comment and tell us your pick. And if you'd like even more conversations with artists and filmmakers about how they use technology to tell their stories, be sure you're subscribed to Dolby Creator Talks. You can find links to our show on all the major podcasting platforms, including the video version on YouTube, in our show notes. Or you can simply search for Dolby wherever you get your podcasts. If you're curious to know more about what we do at Dolby Creator Lab, head on over to dolbycreatorlab.com. There you'll find information about all of our programs. You can access the entire library of episodes of this show, and you can sign up for our mailing list. Until next time, this is Dolby Creator Talks. I'm your host, Glenn Kaiser. Our producer and editor is Michael Coleman. Our executive producers are Amanda Schneider and Jack Ferry, with additional editing by Matt Nixon. And our production coordinator is Karen Kahn. Thanks for joining us.